Okay, so this is Asperger's and high-functioning autistic fictional characters, part 3. I bet you're excited. Except that's not what it really is, because all I do is watch Mad Men, and then I watch all the episodes of Angel that the guy who plays Pete Campbell was on, because I like watching him do backflips. But yeah, I mean, if I started talking about that, I would just never stop. So I guess I was going to talk about the reaction that people have to the whole people with Asperger's and high functioning autism identifying with fictional characters. People have a crazy ass reaction to this, and it kind of upsets me. The other day I was freaking out in the Mad Men Live Journal community, and I had made a post basically about how the two characters that I perceive as having ASDs kind of fuck over each other throughout the run of the show. And I don't know, just how I thought it was interesting and how I thought their methods of trying to cope were different. And I linked to it using the word Asperger. So instead of reading it, a bunch of people just commented and were like, I don't know why everyone has to say that fictional characters have Asperger's just because they're a little bit socially awkward. Well, this kind of made me feel sort of depressed all day. And I mean, okay. When I say that I think a fictional character seems like they have Asperger's, maybe I'm not being super systematic. I don't know how Pete Campbell reacts to loud noises, but I don't really care either, because he's clearly socially impaired, and I find him interesting for reasons including that one. And I feel also when people respond and are like, oh, why do you have to say that everyone who's just the slightest bit socially awkward has Asperger's? It's kind of I don't know, I mean, is it really such a big deal for me to say that? And I also don't think that those people are really super systematic geniuses who know everything about Asperger's and are like, oh, well, he doesn't have the right posture and he doesn't seem to respond to sensory information the same way. That is not it. It's that they were looking at someone who looks like a person, and they think that Asperger's is some big mass of symptoms, like some stupid character on Grey's Anatomy, who I think I already mentioned how much that sucked. Nobody looks like a big mass of symptoms. And I think it especially annoys me with characters, I mean, okay, there's this Mad Men site that has art of the characters, and they have this one picture, and it's Pete taking off his face to show that he's a robot. So it's don't even pretend you think he's just a little awkward. You clearly think that he's impaired, but now when someone uses an actual word for it, you're all freaked out, and you think that he's just a little awkward. It kind of bugs me because I feel people will totally go around insulting characters and saying how crazy they are, but if you actually say they have Asperger's, they'll suddenly say no, the character's normal. Well, that's not really true, and it kind of makes me feel nervous about real life, because, that's kind of what it's like in real life. Everybody thinks you're really fucking stupid and crazy, and then the minute you refer to yourself as having an actual disability, everyone is starting to bend over backwards to tell you how high functioning you are and how they would never even know, and they don't think you really have anything. Well, that doesn't, it kind of sucks actually, and it just hurts a little bit, I guess, when people have this reaction of how dare you say that my fictional character has Asperger's, because it's kind of do you think that people with Asperger's don't go around watching television and reading books and identifying with characters? Because guess what, we do, just the same as you do. So, I don't know what's so wrong with us identifying with someone. And the whole social awkwardness and Asperger's are not the same thing. Okay, I get how that's true. I do. I mean, I know that, for example, executive function issues are not really the same thing. Although, they are for me. Because I think a lot of the reason I have trouble figuring out how to do things is that I know I'm not going to do them in a socially acceptable way, so it makes me so anxious that it's hard for me to do it. Which is why I'm making this video instead of going to church, because it makes me nervous to go to church. But, yeah, I better finish this so I can try to make myself go to church in the next minute. But I feel yeah, it's true there are certain things about Asperger's that don't have to do with social awkwardness, and I think I've even talked about how perseverating a lot is something that bothers me more than being socially awkward, but I feel people don't respect that or think it's important because it's not I don't know, because it doesn't have that much to do with the way I relate to other people, and people think Asperger's has to be about how you affect other people. Okay, that's dumb. But I just don't think that's what people are thinking about when they say, oh, this character is just a little bit socially awkward. Don't say they have Asperger's. Like, I feel like they just think that people with Asperger's don't look like regular humans. We look like some dramatic thing. And also I think it's funny, like, I mean, not that I have a problem with using the word autistic, but I think a lot of the time when people are having these conversations, they'll be like, no, like, they're not autistic. Like, how could you say that? And they think that, like, by using the word autistic, they'll remind you that you're talking about a disability because, regular people don't have disabilities. People with disabilities look super different from you and me. I'm not included in the you and me, and you probably aren't either. But, there's that too. And I feel like it is kind of a silly thing to complain about, but it just makes me feel sort of bad when I see it. Because I feel like you're allowed to make up all these sorts of theories about fictional characters, and then all of a sudden, as soon as you say something about Asperger's, people just like, I mean, I feel like there's all these accusations that people are like seeing Asperger's too much, and that people diagnose themselves with it too much, and that people think that everyone who's even slightly socially awkward has it, but I'm just not sure that that's really true. I think a lot of it is just like that other people don't necessarily understand the ways that people sometimes cope with impairments and don't have them in an obvious way, or just the way that people present impairments in different ways, and also that there just may be a lot of other stuff to a person, so that they're not a stereotype just because there's so much other stuff going on with them at the same time. And it just kind of makes me feel bad, because I feel like when I hear that, it's like people think that I'm such a crazy thing that it doesn't make sense to say that any other people are the same as me, or that it doesn't make sense for people like me to even exist in fiction because we're so different, but that's not really true. I mean, stories about people who have social impairments trying to deal with them are, if they're not Asperger stories, they're pretty close, and I don't think it's crazy for me to relate to them or want to look at them from my perspective. So, yeah, I'm going to church.